Probably have a lot of resistance to that.
I got a little ribbon for this.
Sure wish I could security. We're with the winter home gas special, so really, I don't know, it sure is weird. Don't mess with us.
That's right.
There you go.
Text, Blackwell also said 21 cubic yards. Actually 20.6.
Blackwell said,
Well, Blackwell, both South Haven and Blackwell School of Math teachers did the calculation for me. They both give them the same figure.
well, that's good.
Yeah.
Now, if I can just,
I can take a break over there and see if there is plastic on it. Because if there's not,
something,
yeah.
it's not plastic, I think it's.
Yeah.
1
minute. The town park,
Oh,
where the wood chips are.
No, there's not just chips there. The school had that, right? Yeah, under theirs.
Well, I was gonna take a break now. Keep other than spraying, I sprayed it. Take a while to kill.
I'll send a check tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
I know Betty told me that has to be unkept since.
What a day, what a day.
Well, I don't have a problem with
Yeah.
paying for
Let me
it.
go grab that. Okay, we're gonna go grab a pen.
The.
29.
This
28.
desk is only for this.
27.
Yeah, they have a leftover money.
26. 25.
Who is it?
Talk to Betty.
Well, I've talked to Betty, but
About another house for sale.
Oh,
we need to do that because I'll pay whatever they haven't got
Maybe.
to get the
Two more.
plastic chips, whatever you call them, rubber.
Houses?
If the, you get that, you
Ready? Ready?
Yeah,
I think the way she
Get the sheet. Oh, figure out what to do.
that's what we need to do. That would be good, because then
This meeting will come to order. Good evening.
good evening.
How's everybody?
I'm doing all right.
All right. Sound real enthusiastic.
It's genuine.
It's genuine. This time, let's do the flag salute, folks. Call this meeting to order. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Well, I guess we'll call a roll to determine if we have a quorum. Miss Janie?
Mrs. Johns,
Yes.
Mr. Lund,
Here.
and Mr.
I
Sandberg.
am here.
I don't know who she is.
Folks, tonight, we have, really, it's a rare opportunity, and I was visiting with Mr. Walkley before the meeting, and I'll tell you, it's been, how long has Jerry Johnston been retired? 4 years. Totally 4 years? Well, it's way back when.
Long time ago.
Long time ago, and tonight we have Mr. Chris Watley with us. Chris is our area representative for the Oklahoma Municipal Retirement Fund. And OMRF is a fund we contribute to for our employees who are in retirement. And so I don't screw it up anymore. I'm just going to turn it over to Chris. The floor is yours, my friend. Thank you for coming to Bremen.
Thank you very
Chris
much.
Watley.
Thank you. Please, no applause, just $20 bills. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate this time. Basically, what I want to do tonight is explain a couple of things. One, I want to explain who we are as OMRF, and then two, I want to explain your retirement plan, what the current status of your retirement plan is, and what your obligations as a community are under that retirement plan. So, starting off, we as OMRF, we are a government trust that you actually own, along with 225 other cities and towns around the state of Oklahoma. So like here in the neighborhood, Newkirk participates, Blackwell participates, Tonkawa, there's quite a few on the western side of I-35. So that's just in the local neighborhood. But as a government trust, we are basically an extension of you, the town of Bremen. So where you may have a parks trust or a public works trust. You also have a retirement trust that you own with the 225 other cities and towns around the state, okay? We are managed by a 9-member board of trustees, and that 9-member board of trustees, they are elected from our membership. So you have just as much right to run for our board of trustees as anybody else does. Your current local trustee is Melissa Reams. She is the finance director for the city of Stillwater. So, but as the retirement plan, what you do is when you join our system, you basically agree to the rules of the trust and you say, OMRF, take this duty off of us to monitor and manage this money. You take that responsibility for me, and it reduces a lot of the liability that you have. So we have always said that we want to make sure your plan always stays compliant with the IRS. We want to make sure and pay your retirees appropriately, let you know the costs of the plan, and then come out here periodically if you ever need us to, okay? So that is who we are as an entity. So what I'm going to do is in your folder, I'm actually going to dive in and I'm going to pull this out, and I'm going to go over to the page that says Exhibit 1. Exhibit 1, and it looks like this right here, okay? Now what this does is, this is called an actuarial study. Within this actuarial study, the town receives a copy of it every April 1st for the period starting July 1st of the next fiscal year, okay? So this will take effect July 1st of 2019, all right? So keep that in mind. We try to get that out to you in April so you have time for your budgeting process. That's why we try and get it out at that point in time. However, with that being said, your numbers on this page are skewed, which I'm going to go into more in just a minute, okay? So the data that this was built on was based on July 1st of 2018, okay? 2018. So if we look back in time to July 1st of 2018, you had 2 employees that were on the plan, and whenever this was built based on that data, we had no idea that they were planning on leaving, okay? So keep that in mind. Under that scenario, the employees contribute 6% of pay. For the coming fiscal year, the employer would have to contribute 19.41% of pay for a total contribution rate of 25.41. All right? However, here's my caveat to that. Turn over to the next page, please. All right? My caveat to that is, again, Mayor Sandbeck and I, we spoke Monday? Or Friday last week. Something like that. Anyway, we spoke at some point very recently, and he relayed to me that your 2 employees are no longer a part of the community, or will soon be no longer part of the community. So keep that in mind, all right? On Exhibit 2, this is describing to you the liability that the plan owes and the assets that you physically have in the bank, okay? And that bank is called OMRF. So as of July 1st of 2018, I have to think back about that. As of July 1st of 2018, the plan owed 2 retirees $301,000. It owed 2 active employees $47,000. So the total liability owed was $348,000. Okay? You had assets in the bank as of July 1st of $232,000. So your unfunded liability was $116,000. Okay? Now let me stop there for a second. I'm going to spring forward to today. We know that you no longer will have 2 active employees either now or very soon. Okay? Under your plan, for an employee to be vested, being vested means the town owes them a retirement paycheck. All right? So under your current retirement plan, for an employee to be vested, they have to work here for 10 years or longer. 10 years or longer. Both of your current employees who are either no longer here or are getting ready to leave will not meet that hurdle. Okay? What they are eligible to get back is everything they have contributed, plus they are guaranteed 6% interest on their money. All right? So now then, back to our schedule here. So if you look, the $301,000 that you owe to your retirees does not go away. That is a liability that is owed to them. However, that $47,000 that you owe to those two active employees, that in effect goes away because they're not going to become vested. Okay? So your liability based on July 1st moving forward, with the idea that those two will no longer be here, automatically goes down by roughly $47,000. Okay? So you would owe $301,000 to those folks. Your assets that are in the bank, those two individuals have money in the system. So the assets, we would pay them out of those assets, so it would go down from $232 to $210, which is approximately what they owe. So your net liability goes down by approximately $27,000. Okay? Is everybody with me so far? All right. So your unfunded liability now goes from being roughly $116,000 down to approximately $90,000. Okay? Come down 2 lines to where it says annual normal cost. Think of the normal cost as the cost that you have to pay for the present employees to be in the retirement system. Well, because we know those two are no longer going to be in the retirement system, you no longer have a normal cost. And as I understood it, you were not intending on at least replacing those two.
Not with full-timers.
Yeah. And so part-timers are excluded, so that normal cost, which was associated with those two employees, goes away. Okay? However, on the other hand, the line up above it, annual amount to amortize the unfunded liability. So basically what happens is we say, you're going to pay off your liability over a 24-year period of time, and you need to pay approximately $10,000 per year to pay that liability off. All right? And that's in principal and interest on the liability. Okay? So really right now, the cost of the plan is approximately $10,400 per year. You would divide that by 12, and that would tell you approximately how much you need to contribute per month. We had talked about over the phone, sir, about $850. Okay? So that is going to be your cost July 1st moving forward for next fiscal year. Okay? Questions so far?
We spoke briefly just about, you said that part-time employees are not eligible.
Yes, sir.
So a part-time employee is someone less than 32 hours?
Yeah, believe it or not, we do not have any definition of what a part-timer is. As long as you have a written personnel policy that says this is our definition of a part-timer, we have no problem with that. You report them to us as part-time, whatever that definition is, as long as you're consistently applying it across the board, we have no problem with it.
Just go with NLRB standards? or-
Yes, sir, that's what I would say, yeah.
I'll say something along that line, what their standard may be, just live within that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And just have that as a written policy for your handbook.
Yep.
Yes, sir. And then on the other side of that, you would relate to me that y'all are considering using like a contractor for some of your others. Those types of folks are automatically excluded from the plan, regardless of how much they work. Okay? So the only people that would ever be eligible for the plan into the future are those who are considered regular full-time employees. Only people. Okay? Make sense so far? Okay. So let's talk for a second though. Your obligation to the plan is to make sure that your two current retirees, there's enough money in the bank to pay their current and future promised pensions, okay? So within your asset pool, you've got a nice asset pool built up. You are approximately 70% funded, okay? That's pretty good. That's pretty good. It's not 100 cents on the dollar, which what that means to you is you still have an obligation that you have to put money into to pay that plan off. Now, let's turn the coin around here for a second. There are things that will help you out or potentially things that will hurt you with respect to that liability because it can go up or down, all right? So, for example, we're getting some nice rainfall. So, for example, let's talk about things that could potentially happen that could be negative, all right? Let's say that both of your employees live to be 120. You're going to pay them for a very long time, and you would have to contribute to the pot of assets for a very long time. Because the actuary assumes that they will live to a statistical age of death. For males, that's typically about age 80. For females, it's typically about age 82 or 83, typically. All right? So if your retirees live substantially longer than that, that is a negative to your plan. But if they live less than that, that's a positive to the plan. Okay? In effect, you are also becoming what we call a retiree-only plan. And when we say retiree-only, that means you only have retirees in the system. Whenever you become a retiree-only plan, the investment impact has to be recognized every individual year. That can be very good or very bad. And so, for example, if this was calendar year 2018, the investment pot of money lost approximately 10%. Okay? But so far this year, January 1st through yesterday, the investment pot of money had made approximately 14%. All right? So what I'm worried about is that because of the effect of market fluctuations, your liability, you may see it swing up $20,000 or $30,000 in a year, or you may see it swing down $20,000 or $30,000 in a year.
What would be contributing factors to that?
Yeah, what happens is within our pot of money, you have delegated the responsibility to invest that money to my board of trustees.
So it would be a bad investment decision, or?
No, it's just basically the market itself moving. So, and a great example of that.
Like if you're going with a high, my 401k or my retirement plan, I have a high
risk tolerance. Yes, sir.
There you go.
Yes. So
We
what
won't
we
do that later.
what we do is we target, and within your actuarial study, I can show you where it's written. We target a 7.25% rate of return.
Okay.
Our pot of money is 65% invested in the stock market, 30% invested in bonds, 5% invested in real estate. Okay? So a great example is like today, I believe the stock market was down 300 points due to trade talks with China.
Right.
Not really that the stocks were any worse yesterday or the day prior to that. It's just that the fears caused that impact. Okay? And that fluctuation is a fear that I have that will happen every single year. Okay? So what I ultimately want you to know is while your liability is measured at this today, next year when I come back, we could have something totally different that could either be great or may not be as great. Okay? And if we have more assets in the bank, then your contribution rate goes down. If we have less assets in the bank, contribution rate goes up. Over time, back to your question of risk and return, over time, our rate of return has been about 7.5%, you know. Sometimes it'll be a little bit above that, sometimes it'll be a little bit below that. We target 7.25. In individual years, like last year, we may see a -10. This year, we may see 15, you know. So it will fluctuate, but over time, it typically stays about 7.5. And that's even going back, I think that is a 24-year rate of return. So yeah, we're very pleased with that. And so, that takes into account the financial crisis, the 3-year downturn in the market at the beginning of 2000. So we're pretty pleased with that return. Pretty pleased with that. All right. Ultimately, I want you to know that your plan, it is not in bad shape, but you have an obligation to continue to fund it. Now, I understand you have issues that are happening here right now, okay? Within the plan, this is not a statutory requirement where I can come to you and I can say, statutorily, you have to pay me, all right? I can't do that. What happens is the actuary develops this study each and every year, and it is it's more of an informational thing. So if you choose to contribute to me that $850 a month, I think that's great. If you choose not to contribute to me that $850, I think that's great. However, no, you're just pushing that up into the future.
Great point, and a question I have. So what is the maturity date of this particular plan for these
Yeah. So what happens is currently the liability is scheduled to pay off in 24 years,
So 43.
approximately. Yes, sir.
So considering where we are today,
Yes, sir.
financially, is there an opportunity for a period of time where we can contribute a little less and extend the maturity date based upon an agreement with OMRF?
Yeah, there is definitely the ability that you can contribute less. So let's say that you came to me and said, we can only contribute 500, okay? You can do that's all you can do, that's
Like
what you'll do.
for a year or something.
Yes, sir.
like that.
What happens is, we don't re-amortize that period of 24 years, but basically what happens is next year,
We try to catch that up.
we try to catch it up. So at some point in the future, by doing that, we would expect a future contribution rate would go up. All right? The simple way of saying it is
There's some flexibility.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. You'll either pay it now or you'll pay it later. Okay?
The bank really benefits.
Now, I do want to talk about one other potential positive, which kind of comes back to that mortality thing, okay? So like, for example, for one of your retirees, they are guaranteed that they will collect a pension for the rest of their life, okay? So if that person lives to be 120, they're going to collect it till then, all right? But let's say, God forbid, they passed away tomorrow. The liability passes, that was owed to them, passes away with them. Okay? So, again, that could be very positive for your plan. And I don't wish that on anybody,
Understood,
but I at least need to let you know that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The other thing that I was going to say is in your packages behind the slick, really pretty flyer thing, I've put some other information. I had talked with Mayor Sandbeck earlier, and he had asked a question, and that's just in relation to his question. And so he'll get with y'all later on that. I just wanted to make sure and provide the same information that I provided to him to y'all, okay? And I'll let him get with y'all on that later on, and we can talk more if y'all need me to. So, what else may I talk about with y'all?
Back here.
Question.
Yeah, how many people are we paying that have over 10 years other than Betty are we paying out of that fund?
There is one other individual, Carl Tanner.
Oh, okay.
So those are the only two people, Betty and Carl.
Tanner left on disability,
Yes, sir?
and so he still stayed long enough to do retirement?
Yes, sir. I think he had approximately 12 or 14
I
years
see.
in the
Okay.
system.
So
But
those are the
yes.
two.
Yes, sir.
He's screwed.
Anybody else?
Tanner screwed it. Raymond.
guess we're good. Anything from the board?
My card is inside the folder. If you can think of any questions that I did not cover later on, please feel free to reach out to me. I am here to serve you. All right?
Appreciate that.
Thank you,
Chris.
sir.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much for your time. Yeah, thank you very much for your time. Have a great evening. You too.
Hope you brought the umbrella.
Or the four-wheel drive.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you very much. Y'all have a great evening.
See you soon. Well, that was very informative.
I don't know, I know his brothers
And,
pretty well from South Haven.
While I get myself put together here, over the period, as you well know, over a period of time here, we've had a lot of volunteers who have stepped up and helped us. And we're realizing more and more each day that we don't necessarily have a lot of jelly beans in the jar to say thank you properly. But let's see, she just left. We'll get her. I've got just some things here I want to pass on to folks, just a way of saying thank you. And there'll be a little bit of fun with this too as well, I think. But anyway, Rusty knows this about me. We were early on in the Legion. We were in the same situation. I remember the first time we had a fundraiser out at the rodeo grounds. And we made $700 and I thought we were millionaires, right? But it was hard to say thank you to people properly for all their hard work. And one thing we discovered worked is people like stuff they can hang on a wall sometimes and things they can dust on Chris.
That's right.
And you know, so anyway, not everybody's here tonight that I had certificates for, but most people are. So I want to recognize some folks for their contributions both in this crisis that we're going through and in the past. So I would ask the following individuals please come forward, and the board would like to acknowledge your contributions to the community. Donna Campbell, would you please come forward? Donna, it goes without saying, you take care of us when a lot of us are sleeping, unaware. You're out in the storms, and you do a lot for us here in emergency services. So this is the Town of Bremen Shining Star Award to honor your outstanding performance and dedication. This commendation is recognition of your faithful commitment to the Town of Bremen as demonstrated by your exemplary service as National Weather Service Storm Spotter and Emergency Communications Specialist, given this day, May 7th, 2019, by the Board of Trustees. Thank you, Donna. Where's Fire Chief? Where'd he go? Oh, Fire Chief, get up here.
I got something to dust.
This young man has
We'll make you
impressed
come
me,
dust
and apparently he's had some real good training from his papa. And so he's got a tough job. We're rebuilding the fire department. We got a long way to go, but he's got a pathway for us to get there. So this Shining Star Award is presented to Christopher L. Spencer to honor your outstanding performance and dedication. This commendation is in recognition of your faithful commitment to the Town of Bremen as demonstrated by your exemplary service as Chief, Bremen Volunteer Fire Department, given this day by the Board of Trustees, May 7th, 2019. This lady makes some really, really good treats and cookies, and she brings them and shares them with us all. And Janelle, would you please come up?
It was Brahms tonight, so.
All right, we'll put Brahms on the certificate later. But this Shining Star Award is presented to Janelle LaValle, and obviously this commendation is in recognition of your faithful service and commitment to the Town of Bremen as demonstrated by your exemplary work as the interim municipal clerk. And I'll tell you what, she has saved my hind end many times. And so Janelle, thank you from all of us. It's a heck of a way to get your keys back. And now I'm going to call on our scribe, Janie DeWitt. Please come up here, Janie, and so willing to come in and take notes. And that's really important, because that's what we have on the back there for you folks to pick up a copy of the notes, bring home with you, and review those things. But Janie, your Shining Star Award is to honor your outstanding performance and dedication. Your commitment, or this commendation is in recognition of your faithful commitment to the town of Bremen, as demonstrated by your exemplary service as volunteer administrative assistant. And we thank you very much. Now, this next recipient wanted something to dust. We didn't have time to create anything to dust, but we'll work on it. I envision this thing made of walnut, you know, made with a keyboard. Oh, hey, that'd be it, a walnut keyboard, right? For our computer guy. Chris, come on up here. Scott Jennings, he has been just amazing. And I'll tell you what, he did the jailbreak on the computer, got into that. And that was pretty outstanding, and we've saved all the files. We found how many deleted?
400 gigs worth.
400 gigabytes.
Wow.
So, pretty incredible, and we got him on an external hard drive, and he's just a wizard. He also created our new website, so just go to www.bremenoklahoma.weebly.com, and you'll see the movie of tonight, and you'll see the movie of last meeting we had, and appreciate you, man. So this Shining Star Award, and if you won't take long to dust this one, to honor your outstanding performance and dedication, we present Chris Perez Jennings. This commendation in recognition of your faithful commitment to the town of Bremen is demonstrated by your exemplary service as our information technology manager. Thank you very, very much. And finally, goes without saying, you'll know what she does. Shining Star, understatement. Trudy, come on up here. Trudy does it all, and she does it well. Just take a look around the town, and you'll understand this lady has a master's degree in mowing. And there is not a weed that's safe in any of these flower beds, I will tell you. So, Trudy, the town of Bremen presents you the Shining Star Award to honor your outstanding performance and dedication. This commendation, although it's just a plaque, it's not even close to what you deserve. But it's in recognition of your faithful commitment to the town of Bremen, as demonstrated by your exemplary service as our groundskeeper and custodian, given this day, 7 May 2019. Bremen, thank you.
Let me do it, because I'm just so proud of our little old hometown. You know, I lived 30 miles from Chicago, and this is no place like home. And darn it, I just like it to look pretty.
Good job, Trudy.
How's it looking out there, Ronnie?
Pretty wet.
I left the
Okay.
umbrella in the car. This one.
Yeah, mine.
All right. So, we've had a good start here. This is, does anybody want the previous meeting minutes read, or you just dispense of those? Board? I would entertain, or I move to entertain a motion to dispense with the reading.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Lund and a second by Ms. Johns. Roll call.
Mrs. Johns?
Yes.
Mr. Lund?
Yes.
And Mr. Sanders?
Yes. Unanimous. Moving on to item number 2, consent agenda. I'll read this. All items listed are considered non-controversial and will be approved by one motion of the governing body, unless a request for discussion is made by any member of the Board of Trustees, in which case the item or items will be removed from the consent agenda to then be considered separately following this portion. Tonight, we do not have a specific consent agenda. What that generally is when you roll up all the invoices, the checks that are written and so on. And because of our unusual circumstances, we're going to proceed just within the realm of the consent agenda, but we will list and discuss the checks that we've issued in the past days. And I'll do my best to give you an update of where we are. So right now, we're signing the checks after review, but I will tell you this, as we move into more detail. We are in dire straits. And I can't say it any other way. We have some real challenges ahead of us, and we will accept those challenges, and we will do our best. But it is not a pretty picture. I wish I could give you some definitive ideas of what has happened. I am not, I've never seen anything quite like it, so I can't comment, nor would it be appropriate. But just suffice to say, we are working very hard to get our hands around this situation. It's difficult, it's going to be a challenge, it's going to take some time. I will tell you that as of tonight, in our checking account, we have $7,000. And we don't have all our bills paid. Today, we paid insurance, Baptist and Wetzel, for our buildings and those things that we need to protect. We have some outstanding invoices yet that we have to address. Got to pay for some bunker gear. I don't know where that went. So we got our work cut out for us.
That just shocks me because last night, the bunker gear was all taken care of.
Bunker gear was, the SCBA's was wrong.
But we
16.
have the money right there to do
We
it.
had some of it. For everything we had sitting out here, we owed about 62,000. We had 50,000. And I'm sure of the family that donated that money to the fire department found out that a bunch of it's gone. They probably would not be too happy about it.
We have a balance with Delta of $16,188.
Those are non-returnable.
So I've been in contact with Delta, talked with Miss Wendy Daigle. And Wendy has talked with Eric, who is the principal. And we're trying to come to an agreement on a monthly payment. I suggested $1,444.17 plus 3% interest. You're not interested in that. So we have to keep negotiating. And so I can tell you, we had in 2017, January 2017, we had 5 CDs. Today we have 2. And I honestly can't track where they went. I mean, there's just, went into general fund, and so there we are. And so we have 1 CD that has 118,000 and some odd dollars, and we have another one that was, I believe, designated for the swimming pool fund. That was $8,735. Really don't want to touch them. Yes, sir, Mr. Jennings.
I was gonna say, are we at the point where we're gonna have to go and do like a It's a Wonderful Life situation where the town sees how much they can raise to, as like a loan to the
Yeah,
town?
where's
I'm thinking, do we
Where's
need to do a
Jimmy Stewart when you
fundraiser
need
for
him,
the
right?
fire department?
Pardon me?
Do we need to do a fundraiser for the fire department somehow?
Well, again, I'm going to defer to my colleagues here for their wisdom on this and ideas. We're open to anything, any ideas. Ray?
What is the monthly revenue for the city?
It's a wonderful question. Wonderful question. I'm going to go to Blackwell Power and sit down with them in the near future. There's no date been set, but I've talked with Janet Smith, the city manager, to set up a meeting to understand what we actually pay. I'm kind of concerned about a number on there. It's called one-time fee. I don't know what that is. And so we currently have an outstanding balance with Blackwell of $7,128.44. I'll make a deposit tomorrow sometime. I believe we have in the neighborhood of $3,000 to deposit, I believe. So that, you know, you can do the math, and that puts us at about 10 grand. Monthly income. Looking at some of the past performance records, you know, when they set up the budget, it's probably in the high 300s is the annual income budget. There's a lot of variables in that rate. For an example, there's sales tax revenue that's a variable. Usage. And usage is a variable. You know, like when we lost the school, okay, that was a big consumer of electricity. You know, I mean, it's just gone. So we have to figure out a way to replace that if we're going to have what we call acceptable income levels to keep things going. I don't know what the margins are. Right? I mean, do you have a feel for that, James or Darlene? On electricity, for example?
Electricity, I would say that, you know, on average, we run anywhere from $200 to $400, you know, in a given month. Of course, we're gonna make more on high usage time. It's summertime. I couldn't tell you any exact numbers.
We'll jump change. Darlene, do you have a feel for that? You've been watching that for years.
Well, I knew that we lost a lot of money when we cashed in the CD and got these transformers, because the co-op was going to build all of the big bins. Well, then we ran into the problem with the two farmers who threatened to sue us, and they kind of knocked us out. We're left with the transformers, and the co-op couldn't build the bins. Yeah. So that kind of left us here, and I have seen the swimming pool, and I know that the swimming pool was built by the Busy Bunch. We raised the money, and the bank furnished, we had Thanksgiving dinner for the community, and the bank paid for it, and that's how we gave the money to the bank. The pool was made for a 20-year pool, and it's been going a little over 20 years. So we've done really, I think, excellent on the pool. And I know this pool is like
Kim saved their
a
ass
lot of
money
other
for many
things
years.
for Raymond.
Kim had saved their
Plumbing,
ass.
the roads, they're not gonna last forever. And we used to have to do that first. And I know the school, I was treasurer for the school for 11 years. And I know that after 6 years, the CPA wanted to give up and wanted us to consolidate then. And no, the school went on for 5 more years. We scraped and everything, and we made it 5 more years. And we wanted to buy the school. The school was going to be given to Bremen. But when we started looking into the assets and debits, it was going to cost the city more than what we could afford. Yes, we could have taken the school and bought it and then turned around and sold it. We would have to pay liability for it every day we had it. And we didn't have the money to pay the liability. And so, for what they got out of the school, was really good. I mean, yeah, they got a little money out of school. But since then, they found out that Newkirk didn't tell them everything about the school. And so, they were having problems with the school that we didn't know either. So, schools like a lot of other things. We're a small town, we're a little town, and everything isn't gonna last forever. But we have to keep after it to keep it going. That's all there is. Dennis and I lived out of Raven in the country for 38 years, and then we moved in town, and there was a lot of times I still wish we was out in the country. But I know that we have to keep working, and, you know, not all the people in Bremen are young kids. And the young kids that we're getting don't have a responsibility. They don't wanna mess with it. Well, when we moved to Bremen, we were the young kids. Now,
Not
we're
so
the
much.
old people. And, you know, I'm in charge of the cemetery. Who's gonna take it over? Got the same problem there. Anybody wanna try?
What's gotta be done with it?
I mean,
What's the responsibilities? Is this mowing or?
Mowing, making sure that people get put in the right place.
So basically making sure that whoever already bought plots, it's the plots that they.
they have to buy the plots, and then they have to pay the expenses and things for the funeral home.
It's quite.
Okay, but don't we have like an actual board and stuff too though, for the
Yes.
cemetery?
I'm the youngest one on the board.
Well, as, you know, as Mrs. Johns explained, we have a great set of challenges here, aging amongst them.
Yeah.
But we also have to get after it. So that's what I intend on doing. And, you know, I might get to the finish line in a dead sprint, but nobody's rolling me across that sucker, I'll tell you that. Keep going and work hard. So anyway, that's where, you know, we are at tonight. We will be very judicious about issuing checks to the people who have earned that. Dice Roofing is coming up, $5,200 installment due by the end of May. We have a couple obligations to some local folks here for duties performed and material bought. You know, we'll be very careful with it. But I'll just give you an example. Today, we had the sirens worked on. Okay. Young man from Goddard Enterprises came here, and he replaced the 9-year-old batteries
Oh, I heard.
in the Wheeling siren. 9 years. My, how time flies. Huh? And we made some other discoveries, and we discovered that the old yellow box over here that runs Old Faithful, although it's in wonderful condition, it's a 1960 model. Don't even make parts for it anymore. So Andy Goddard is going to build us a control box that when we fire the Wheeling, Old Faithful will go off at the same time. We fire it right from the handheld or from Donna's radio in the Jeep or whatever. Okay. So I wrote him a $1,236 check today out of my own account because it's important to get these sirens running. someday, the town gets well, I'd sure like to have my grandkids' money back, but, you know, for now, it's more important to have the sirens going. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know about anybody else, but I've lost a home to fire before. I don't know what we need to do, but we need to all get together and figure out how we can keep a fire department and keep everything going. Cause I don't know about you, but I don't wanna lose my home again. We've lost everything to a fire. And that's a scary deal, you know?
Yeah, it is.
And then, I don't know about anywhere, but in Holden, they charge you to tear the rest of it down. So, I mean, it's a costly thing, you've lost everything, and then you're trying to figure it out. So we need to all get our heads together and figure out how to help the fire department.
Well, along that line, and we're getting a little off track here, but along that line, it's a good mention. We need to create a super fundraiser. And the super fundraiser has to be designed to raise specific funds for specific things. I am not a fan of the general fund. You will know that about me. I hate the general fund. To me, it's a catch-all, it's a garbage can for our good money. And if we are judicious stewards of the people's money, we need to budget accordingly, we need to put money in specific fund sites, and we need to understand the rule of law when it comes to encumbrances. Because here's a newsflash. If you have a fund site, let's call it fire department, or let's call it EMS, or whatever you want to call it, and you put $15,000 in there for the year, that's what you have to take care of the fire department for the year. You can't go willy-nilly and say, oh, I think we'll go buy that fire truck, that looks really sweet. You can't do that. You can't do it without an amendment. And the amendment has to be passed by each member of the board, presented at a council meeting. It has to be on the agenda. It has to be in the minutes. It has to be signed and agreed upon individually, or not agreed upon individually. You will learn that about me. I am a budget freak. And a column is a column is a column. And that's where the money resides. Try to catch the money in the general fund and tell me where it went. Ain't gonna happen. But if you put 15 men in the fire department, we can track that, can't we, chief? And if you want more, what do you gotta do? You gotta come to the council, and we have to write an amendment. That's how it works.
Technically, any money should be able to be tracked, whether it's in the general fund or not.
Understood, I agree. Okay.
On that note, I've got a question on this. I know this is Loftus and Wetzel, this is our insurance provider.
Yes.
This one check, there's 2 checks here.
Right, there are 2 different policies. One is for our liability policy, and one is for property. I can get both policies. Janelle, could you look in that green folder in there? I think the policies are in there. It's 2 separate policies. Yeah, 2 separate. Two different things that they cover. And Doreen from OMAG was here today, and she talked about in the future, we can have some other insurance options and bigger coverage, even beyond that.
I know that we've had trouble with our insurance in the past as far as having the town hall and the
Yes,
volunteer fire
that's
departments.
exactly what she addressed. That's exactly what she addressed. And so you're right on it. So I would entertain, I would move to entertain a motion. We move from consent agenda, auditing and claims at this time.
I'll move that motion along.
Okay, we have a motion to move on and complete item number 3. Do we have a second? Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Consent agenda, auditing and claims. Time for roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Johns?
Yes.
Mr. Lund?
Yes.
And Mr. Sandberg?
Yes. Okay, real quickly, item number 4, discussion, consideration, action on repayment arrangement negotiated with Delta Services to satisfy the past due invoice in the amount of $16,166.70 for the purchase of firefighter safety and SCBA equipment. Okay. Chief, you know exactly what we are encumbered for in this particular bill.
It's just two SCBA, it's the tank, mask that came with them, harnesses.
For 2 rigs.
Okay, in talking with Wendy Daigle from Delta, they wouldn't entertain a $1,444 repayment. They would like everything to be done by December of this year. So here we are in May. See, this is the 5th month, isn't it? 5 and 12 is 7. So we gotta come up with 7 installments, apparently, what we can afford. $16,000, doing math, it's over $2,000. Turn to my colleagues for your input and recommendations. Has anybody got any coffee? This is gonna be a 4-cup nugget, I can tell you. Yes, ma'am. It's in the fridge. It's in the fridge, Teresa. I don't care, hazelnut, macchiato, I don't know. Throw some Excedrin in there too. So what do you folks, what do you entertain on this? What are your feelings?
Sorry, the first couple of months, we're gonna have to see what we can do. Because,
No, it's the one in the wall over by the computer. It's gotta get thick, real big. Sorry.
I'm thinking that we're gonna have to, at least the first couple of months, we're gonna have to look and see what we can do, because we're so strapped on cash right now. Maybe in a couple of months, we'll have a better cash flow. I mean, we don't know.
That's perfect.
You need hot weather suits somewhere.
Yeah. I don't wish that upon us, but it might help a little bit.
Send me something, what do you think?
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're gonna need roughly $1,000 payments, like 11.
2,000.
So we're gonna need, we do at least like 600 or maybe first couple months.
No, I think you'd be right.
They wouldn't do it for that? Anything they wrote down?
Well, they wouldn't accept 1,400, I know that. They tried 1,444 at 3%. And they weren't interested in that at all.
We're kind of upset because the whole way this thing unfolded. We actually had a grant
Yeah, I know.
for that, and the person that was in charge of the grant got booted out of here, that knew everything about the grant. And then the next 2 people will come in, knew nothing about it, and then it got all thrown on my shoulders, and knew nothing about it. And we ended up losing the grant. So actually, in all reality, we should have had everything paid for. And it's a sad deal the way it unfolded, but it is.
It's a messed up scenario. But, it is what it is, and we're gonna have to.
Well, this is sort of subject with me, so I'll just. We had the money. The check was for $50,000, and we should have had that left out of that to cover this and some change in the bank. And it's gone, so. I understand where Christopher's coming from. I was on there 19 years. And the money was there and now it's not. It's not the fire department's fault because it was there. But now that it's gone, we need to get together and get this all straightened out and start over fresh. We need to have like Mark said earlier, a super fundraiser to help the fire department get this paid for, the storm sirens. in my opinion, that to the top of my list. And, I don't know, the sirens altogether, time it's all said and done, probably what, $3,000-4,000, maybe 5, 6. You know, and it's possible, because we had a fish fry.
117,
Yeah.
June.
And we made, after expenses, around $9,000 fish fry auction. So I know it's possible if everybody pull together and work at it. We can get it done. It may take 2 or 3 fundraisers, big ones to get it done. And I vote, so I say we have a fundraiser. If we can get it.
Have we talked to Conation? Because I know, last few months they donated to Kildare and Newburgh. That would be the KGI.
Be meeting with them within the next week to 10 days. I don't know about Ken Belmar called and said that they've got some discussions, and I'll know more about that and relay to the board and everybody what that is. So we have to get this thing done by the end of December. So what that equates to is $2,309 a month. Well, we don't have that. I just need a number from the board that you'd like me to throw out there to Delta and have them respond. And we'll,
And it wouldn't take 14?
see, I proposed a 12-month repayment, but they want it done by the end of December.
Yeah.
Mr. Jennings?
Well, if I have it within my means, I could do a city loan the city money, $1,000 that each month. I'd be putting off the money that I would be putting towards the mortgage on my house, but I could do that. It wouldn't really break me.
You are very generous, and thank you. I will just say this. Can we hold that as a?
It's an option, yeah.
As an option, and can we? Okay.
Think about it, yeah, just think about it.
Here's what I'm gonna propose with your approval. I'm gonna talk to Mrs. Daigle and just tell her we are about done here. Without touching the CDs. No touching CDs. No. I'm gonna shoot her a number of $1,500.
That's a great idea.
And just say, bear with us. It'll get better, bear with us. Are you?
I agree.
Right, I move to entertain a motion then that we offer Delta $1,500 payment this month, and I will advance that to Mrs. Daigle if I have a motion.
I would suggest that, I'm sure you will, but I would suggest that you just try to convey that, this is what they're gonna get out of us.
Well,
If they want it all by December, it doesn't matter if you give them 5,000 this month and
Right. I mean,
the
we
rest
could-
of it in December, as long as it's paid by December, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
So we'll give them some seed money and tell them we're having some fundraisers, and that's all I can do, and I'll let you know what she said. So if I could move to get a motion, hello, hey.
I'll move that motion along.
We have a motion by Mr. Lund, and we have a second by Mrs. Johns. Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Johns?
Yes.
Mr. Lund?
Yes.
And Mr. Sandberg?
Yes. I'll hold the phone far piece from the Item number 5, discussion, consideration, action regarding final installment plan of $5,200 due to Dice Roofing by 31 May.
I'm gonna grab it. No.
That's the reality of it. We owe them $5,200. Hello, Sean.
Can we talk to Dice and ask him if we can bring the payment down a little bit before we have?
Is that a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. I didn't move for it, but we do have a motion to I will call Dice Roofing and see if we can get an extension on that.
Or make payments if you have to.
Work out a payment plan. So discuss options. Again, I'll hold the phone far away from my ear. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Mrs. Johns, a second by Mr. Lund for a discussion with Dice Roofing to determine some options. Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Johns?
Yes.
Mr. Lund?
Yes.
And Mr. Stanback?
Yes. Discussion, item number 6, discussion, consideration, and action regarding overdue final billing statement from Northern Oklahoma Development Authority for the health insurance premiums for thank you very much. You're a miracle worker. Nota for health insurance premiums for Santa Barrows and David. Further explanation on that is each month we paid approximately $1,300. That was our contribution to the health insurance premiums for the 2 employees. It was $750 deductible. And I have been in discussion with Mrs. Emerson over there, and she has sent the final billing, and we owe for 2 months. So it's about $2,600. I have the exact numbers for you, but it's 2 months. So, again, I suppose we have to be kind of creative. Discussion?
We cancel it. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Still.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, it's just the past 2 months that we haven't paid.
Well, we let you put your ear to the telephone again.
Left and right.
Rusty, I might be at the meeting Thursday night. We might not.
You
We
might
might not
need to hear
anything left.
action.
Okay, I would move to entertain a motion then that I would contact Mrs. Emerson at NODA to negotiate repayment.
I'll second that. Or I'll move that motion along, I'm sorry.
We have a motion from Mr. Lund, and I'd entertain a second.
Second.
And a second from Mrs. Jones. Roll call vote.
Mrs. Johns?
Yes.
Mr. Lund?
Yes.
And Mr. Stanback?
Yes. Okay. Item number 7, discussion, consideration, action regarding the acceptance and approval of mutual aid agreement is requested by the town of Bremen and authored by the city of Blackwell. It was authored by Mr. Bryce Kennedy, their attorney, relevant to the maintenance and management of freshwater distribution and wastewater disposal systems for the town of Bremen. I went to the meeting last Thursday night, and Blackwell presented our pitch, if you will, and they wrote up a very nice mutual aid. It's an interim agreement. I stress it's interim. It's a 30-day. You can renew, and what requires cancellation is a 30-day notice. So we roll along, and it just kind of renews itself until. Now, I mention interim because somewhere down the road, we are going to have very serious discussion about our future electrical and water arrangements. We have to have that discourse. We're against it, and I mean, we're against the wall. Got to do it. And it was actually requested last, July or June?
Yeah, in summertime last year.
And they wanted to have a multi-year agreement. Well, we're in a little bit of a box there too, because in order to have a multi-year agreement, you have to have a utility trust established. And the Public Utility Trust is a board of people. It can be 3, it can be 5. Important to have odd numbers because you need to break ties. Now, some communities, and I want to mention this because we're going to be looking for volunteers who are interested in infrastructure and interested in the utilities, but also are really, really good with numbers, because here's the power they have. The public trust, those individuals have the authority to recommend to the board multi-year agreements on behalf of the board, the town of Bremen, who is the beneficiary. We are the beneficiary of the trust, just like when Chris was here earlier, he talked about they were the trust and we are the beneficiary of that trust. So it happens the same when we get into a long-term utility agreement. So we cannot deal with anybody until we have this board in place. It's gonna be one of the things on next month's agenda, along with something else coming up here. But think about that. If you have an interest in serving on this board, that board will meet monthly. Might not be a very long meeting, but you will meet separately of the council, and you will consider matters of a utility nature for the community, and those things that would benefit the community. You can enter into long-term notes, you can enter into bonds, you can enter into all sorts of financial instruments on behalf of the community. So, great.
Great for the community.
So, I'd say we have to start with 3 minimum. And JD, you've dealt a lot with trusts. What do you see? 3 people, 5 people? Ronnie, what do you see?
Well, do you guys have an idea of kind of how many accounts you have? How many accounts do you have in town? Electric?
Well, I think we run 97 meters more or less. Let's just call it 100. So 100 customers here. Now, I understand that this may have a little bit of a residual or a more long-reaching effect, because I think water actually travels on beyond Raymond, does it not?
Right.
For other customers.
Right.
So,
I think certainly in a small community, the more, if you could have 5, that would be great. 3 would be probably the bare minimum.
okay.
But you have five more residents that are involved with your community aside from the trustees. So I think that's just going to bond your town.
Okay.
That's certainly an issue. I missed the last meeting, so I did not realize that you guys were looking at a mutual aid. I've offered and continue to offer that K Services, which operates Blackwell Rural Water, would, in the center time, come up here. We did end up taking the samples for now last week. We kind of had that rating for a couple of months now. They was here to bring those costs down a little bit. And we're going to continue to do that in the interim basis for pro bono for nothing. And the reason we're doing that is that Blackwell Rural Water goes through the town of Raymond here. We have a deduct meter over by Gerald Ward's house that we serve. Blackwell Rural Water serves 24 more accounts down in there as well. And coming around to Harold's place, and we actually come back up and serve the DJ John's dairy, so it's houses in there. It's actually 24 accounts down southwest of Raymond that are served through this town. So that's why we are committed to getting you through this, and then we're going to be very interested in looking at maybe providing at least an alternative, a contract as a contractor for the town of Raymond in the future. But I do want to be aware of that, so we can get that filed.
This will
why I
be.
gave y'all a letter just stating that. I think that we want to be a part of this solution because we have accounts, Blackwell Rural Water. Ed's a new member, so I keep of the Blackwell Rural Water Board. And Blackwell Rural Water does have 24 more accounts southwest of town, so I'm very interested in that.
When this all unpacks for us a little more here, kind of like mayhem wrapped in chaos right now. But when we get a little more unpacked and organized, and we get a trust put together, then there's going to begin the process of evaluation. And certainly it won't be one meeting, it will be several meetings, and I envision at least 2 public hearings on measurement and information regarding our options. Best option, Liz?
But anyway, our operator is licensed. He can do the wastewater piece, and he can do certainly the water. We did the sample. It did come back. We just got the results today. The bacteria part came back great. The TTHM is still, it's a longer test period. We don't have the official results back from that yet.
Does your guy mow lagoons?
That is, we've actually already checked on a little bit of that with the DQ rep, and that's one of the things.
I'll be out there on the tractor pretty quick.
Trying you guys up for, he said, so.
Yeah, I'll be out there in the truck.
I just have a question on
Yes,
the
ma'am.
public trust. Reading up on that somewhat, I have not found where it states where the board members have to come from. Do they have to come from within the city limits, or can you spread out within your community?
I think
I think that can be specified within your trust, and
Huh?
within your indenture.
Yeah.
So basically, whenever you're making the rules for the trust or whatever, you can probably put that in there.
Well, like I said, I was reading up on it, and nothing states where they can
There
come
is-
from.
There is no delineation from what I could ever read in your Donna, I agree with
Okay,
you.
yeah, okay.
And I think in this case, particularly for the greater Raymond community, we have a lot of talent beyond the municipal borders.
Yes.
Lots of talent. And I think it'd be a shame to not tap into that.
I agree.
Okay, then, so,
Can we ever letting you be on the board?
I think that'd be a compliment.
capital letters.
Yeah.
Love it, but.
Appreciate it, but no, thank you.
So,
I think that's-
so for this interim period then, I would move to entertain a motion that I be authorized to go to Blackwell tomorrow, sign this agreement. It is an interim agreement and it's month to month.
Yes, sir. Could you explain how this agreement works?
Jim Hoos, okay, the water superintendent from Blackwell, is developing the, what should we say, parameters of it, and it's my understanding that it would be customary maintenance, water sampling. I don't have the document right in front of me, but if we run into a situation where we got to dig, they will be here to do that. And the council at Blackwell did caution Jim to, take care of Blackwell's things that they got to do first, and he's prepared to come during his off hours even to help us.
Will the city be charged
Yes.
every time something is done? Would it make more sense to go with K Services since it's free?
The thing that we were up against at the time was Damon had left. Okay, we had nothing, zero. And I had been in communication with the city manager of Blackwell, and I had been in communication with Greg Sixkiller, and, people that come up here to service us. And they were aware of our situation. And they offered, it's going to be on the cheap, but it's a similar arrangement to what we have electrically with them. Very much similar. And I guess I could just say in the panic mode, trying to get coverage for the town, it seemed to make sense. The offer was extended.
Is the contract signed?
It's not signed yet. That's why
I'll just make a statement that we're very committed to anything that happens in Raymond affects some of our members.
Understood.
And some of our customers.
Understood.
And we're on call 24/7.
Understood.
And we would be here. Is there a minimum? Do you have to pay them a certain amount to have the agreement? You can have the agreement all day long, but if you call us, it's going to get done. We know what your requirements are. And he doesn't, and it's not against him, and he's just not aware of it. So the sampling, basically, if you can get if you get somebody to do the job by July 1st, you've got one more sample to take, and that's going to be the first Wednesday of June. And so.
And again, this is, as I stated, it's an interim arrangement. It's a 30-day by 30-day arrangement. And it's not like something went out on bids. It was, they extended a mutual aid based upon their electrical agreement with the town. And technically, they do have right in the contract that exists, the electrical contract that exists with the town, there is a clause in there that offers water services. So, they would dig, they would offer, we would buy parts and pieces, whatever. It's right in the contract that we've had since 1990.
It's okay to do it, but
good.
I'm not going to wait, to be honest with you, as the operator for Blackwell Water, we're not going to wait 3 days for somebody to come up and dig something when our people will be off. We're going to get after
Well, then we got double coverage then.
We'll work with them, that's what I'm saying, it's not a bad thing, I'm just saying, we're gonna make sure that it gets done properly.
Appreciate that.
We appreciate everything K Services does, and Black Rural Water Authority, K Electric. This is a very generous offer, and I know you have vested interest in the community. I would suggest that we, as our main contact, our main operator, that we deal with K Services and use Blackwell Water as a secondary service.
Is that a motion?
I move to make the motion for that.
I second it.
And second, roll call vote.
Mrs. Johns? Yes. Mr. Lund?
Yes.
Mr. Sandvik?
Yes. Item number 8, discussion and action, or consideration action relevant to a presentation by Rusty regarding the repair of the rain lines. Rusty? Not if you don't want to.
Okay, we shall solve the lenses, or I call them the lenses for design that blew off. One of them is over here, it's got a date on it, a little bit of it was knocked off, the other one is history. Whenever I saw that, I called Mark and I says, let that thing run, because it's got a fan on it, for that computer and everything that's in it. And I got one little shower on it, but it run for a couple, 3 days after that. And it was able to dry out. Hopefully it was able to dry out. That's the reason I wanted to leave it open. Whenever we shut the power off, it was still running. It was still working. What I would like to do is get a high volt. I'm not sure whether it's 1 or 2 high volts that need to be installed in the top. I looked for them, I couldn't find them. They have them over there at Lowe's. I can go get 1 or 2, whatever it needs. At any rate, I've worked on that thing in the past, and you're 10 foot off the ground. That's too high to be what needs to be done. So it needs to be taken down. And what I would suggest is that take that thing down, get Blackwell up here and set it off, and maybe get Kelly's forklift, take it to the old city building down there that used to be the recycle center, and set it on some pallets. That way it can be worked on inside out of the weather. And then see if we can get that repaired, fixed, or whatever. We may have to contact some sign companies. We'll have to contact the manufacturer, see if they're still in business, see if they can duplicate that cover. I call it Lexan. It's not actually Lexan. It's some other type of plastic. But anyway, it's molded. Then we find out how much it's going to cost. I'm going to meet with the chamber Saturday. We're having a meeting of American Legion Thursday night. I'm going to bring this up in our meeting. And I talked to Pam Snyder that administers the grants, the Canopy grants. She said there is still money left in their grant program. If we find out soon enough that there's money available and how much it is, we might be able to get a grant. And hopefully that would pay half of what the repairs was. But my main concern was to get the electronics protected, because that's where the money is. The other day when Marv was showing me the sign, or what's left of the lens, I found the box of parts. There's a box of parts over there that whenever in the first year we had problems with it a couple times, and they sent us a box of parts, and there's, I don't know, probably $200 or $300 worth of parts in there. But the last time I talked to them, they no longer make that. that sign, that particular sign. Those parts are not existing anymore, is my understanding. But anyway, that's my suggestion, is get the thing down, and get it in the weatherproof building, because if it can't be repaired, it's gonna have to come down anyway, so. It's up to you guys.
Thank you, Rusty.
What do you think it would take, like, as far as disconnecting it from the power? Is it easy to disconnect from the power, or is it something we have
It's
to?
just, I can do that as far as that's concerned.
Okay.
There's be 3 wires, but the data cable is one that I don't remember about. I don't remember putting the data cable, hooking it up. And that's the one that goes from where you plug that in up to the computer itself. But, you know, I can be around whenever it's taken down.
I'm sure the Kellys will allow me to come down here with a forklift and pull it off of the stand.
Well, I would rather Blackwell bring their truck up, because that's how we set it on there, and I know if we get high enough, just bring it over and set it down on a forklift.
Okay. Either way, yeah. That will really do it.
But I'll have to get up on it, get a ladder and get up there and try to find the bolt holes for the eyebolts. But I'll do that here this next week. If you guys decide.
You would get with me,
Okay.
and we'll figure something out on the forklift, moving it downtown.
Yeah. And I'll get with Marv, you know, if you guys decide to do that, on when to get Blackwell up here.
We got insurance on that too, but I found
Do
that
we?
out today.
Really?
Found that out today, tell you about it.
Okay.
When OMAG was here, yeah, we got $27,000 on it, something like that.
What's the deductible?
Hold on, I'll look. I would entertain a motion to turn Rusty loose on this project and coordinate with James on some of the local logistics.
I say that.
No,
I'll make that motion.
we have a motion on the floor by Mr. Lund and a second by Mrs. John. Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Johns? Yes. Mr. Lund?
Yes.
And Mr. Sandbeck?
Yes.
It was mentioned already, but it's been a long week so far.
Long? Long? Want to change bodies? Here we go. Item number 9, discussion, consideration, action on presentation that I'll make relevant to the progress by Crawford Associates regarding our review and audit of our records. This will be short. Talked with Darcy last night and again today, and we are probably 2 to 2.5 weeks away from learning anything more. It's a mess. Numbers are all over the place, and they're trying to make sense of it. What they're going to deliver to us is a product that is clear and concise on where we are actually with our numbers, with our dollars and dimes. Talking with them today, I get the sense that what they want to deliver to us is a clean set of books, ready for audit. So just something for seed here as we go ahead. And this is getting prepped for bigger things later. Because Lord knows we can get to bigger things. If we get the clean books, it may be beneficial to us to go for an AUP this year, the 2017-2018 books. To take those clean books and go to an AUP, because the AUP will satisfy the requirements for the municipality as far as the state auditor is concerned. And it'll position us then to take that clean AUP into the 2018-2019 year, which is coming up here real quick, and we go for the full audit on this next year. And what that does for us, and we'll be in a better position to apply for these grants, is going in with a full, complete, clean audit, 2018-2019, then we can compete for USDA grants in excess of $750,000. I mean, million, 2 million, whatever. If Dale were here, he'd tell you. USDA's got money to give away, and the idea would be to completely overhaul our infrastructure. Not a piece at a time, just get in there and do it. Whole town. We got 2-inch lines running through this town in the alleys. That's why when you turn on the fire hydrants, it looks like your garden hose, all right? You know, it was nice back in the 20s and 30s, right? 2-inch line, well, running water, wonderful. We like it a little faster, bigger volume these days. So, got a beautiful 8-inch line coming right down Broadway here. It's a great backbone for our future. We can build off that line. You and I learned over in Enid that there's something about some kind of crazy grants where you get 1,000 foot in either direction, laterals.
Free.
Free, each way. So we go east-west, 4 pipes, you know, 4,000 feet. I mean, woof, that's great. That's great, good stuff. So anyway, that's where we are. So that's my report. Are there any questions about what Crawford is doing for us? If not, I'd move to entertain a motion to move on, complete this item out, and move on to item 10.
I move the motion that we accept that, move on to the next item.
And second, and we have a second by Mrs. Johns. Let's do the roll call vote.
Mrs. Johns? Yes. Mr. Lund?
Yes.
And Mr. Sandberg?
Yes. Okay, item 10, this is coming up, and this is going to be a big deal. This is going to be a real big deal. Discussion, consideration, and action on the annual budget review and formulation. Budget proposal is due to the trustees by early May, so we are obviously late. And review of the budget is due by mid-May. I am hopeful I can put some numbers in columns and present those to my colleagues so we can look that over and get going here. I would like very much to have a budget hearing. This is a proposal, this is not in stone, but I'd like to propose a budget hearing for around the 21st of May. And this may sound a little aggressive, but I think we got to get something on paper here, because if we don't, I think we're setting ourselves up for a big oops again. And so what I would ask you to do is just bear with us as we put this together. I think I found the 2016-2017 budget, I found the 17-18 budget, and of course we're not in the same ballpark, but it gives you a good start. And we're not going to be, we're not going to be eating up a lot of dollars in benefits and salaries. We're going to be relying on a lot of part-time folks to help us out. So we'll do our very, very best to present you with a budget that we can adhere to, that we will abide by. I really, for those of you that know me, I'm a big fan of emergency services and firefighters, and so they're gonna have a pretty good budget to work with, and we're gonna have to trim elsewhere, but I think we need to take care of our parks and recreation. I think Trudy does an amazing job with our community, making it look pretty, and the flowers are good, and life is good. So we'll be very careful with your dollars. The few that we have left, we'll be very careful with them. Promise. Promise. So, is there any discussion? Nothing? Okay. Then I move for a motion to close this item out and move on to item 11.
I move that motion along.
We have a motion by Mr. Lund and a second by Mrs. Johns to close out item 10, move on to item 11. Roll call vote.
Mrs. Johns? Yes. Mr. Lund?
Yes.
Mr. Sandberg?
Yes. Item number 11, discussion, consideration, and action regarding public advertising for the permanent part-time municipal clerk position, and a status update on that. So in tomorrow's Blackwell Journal Tribune will come out the ad. It says part-time municipal clerk. It's very generic. What it does is it's the attention getter, directs them to contact City Hall, phone number and address. So that's the newspaper. Scott, you were putting something on the website, right?
It's on the website.
It's on the website. So for those of you who want to check it online, go to www.bremenOklahoma.weebly, WEEBLY.com. I'll give it to you again, www.BremenOklahoma, all spelled out lowercase one word, .weebly, WEEBLY.com. And thank you, Scott, again for putting that website together for us.
I was reviewing it today before it came into the meeting, and it's looking really good. Yeah.
Thank
you.
We have movies of all of us. You didn't know that you're on the World Wide Web, did you? No. Yeah. So Scott, you got your dust rag. This one's been sitting around here a while. Probably got dusty. Sean, get up here. Mrs. Shirley. So, you know, we don't say thank you sometimes, and I know you do a lot behind the scenes. You know, you're really busy. So what we have is this is the first series of the Town of Bremen Shining Star Awards. It says to honor your outstanding performance and dedication, we present Sean L. Shirley. This commendation and recognition of your faithful commitment to the Town of Bremen as demonstrated by your exemplary service as Director of Emergency Management Services. Signed by your colleagues here on the Board of Trustees, presented the 7th day of May 2019. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
By the way, that was a video, not a picture.
Thank you for what you do.
A lot of stuff goes on behind the scenes, and I want to tell you about a little adventure today real quick. Before we go any further on the part-time clerk. So we had a resident come in today and said, "What are you going to do with the mud pile down by my house?" I said, "Oh, that mud pile." Well, she said, "Water's backing up and getting in my yard when it rains, and I guess we're going to have some rain tonight." Yep. And, so I got on the tractor and away I went down there and put the blade down or the bucket, and away we go, and it's pretty soupy stuff. But I get just about done, and here comes the Kelly truck, and out jumps James, and he says, "Get back in that tractor, old man." And he starts shoveling, so between the two of us, we got the mud out of there, and thank you for your help. But, you know, this is the stuff we're gonna have to be just getting real used to, helping each other, and just showing up and just doing it. And that's how we'll get through this, and we'll be fine. Now, regarding the clerk position, again, it's a 16 to 24 hour a week job, and no overtime, no benefits authorized. We just can't afford it. So we're looking for somebody that enjoys that kind of work and enjoys those kind of hours, and willing to jump in and wear a lot of different hats, because this will be a job that will require that. And so for a couple more weeks now, we'll take applications and then figure out some way for somebody other than the board to evaluate it, because I don't know about anybody else, but I don't want to be responsible for this decision. No, just kidding. We have to. We use our just procedures to evaluate and get a great candidate. Any further discussion about the position?
Have you had any interest yet?
Yes, sir. We have had 5 applicants. Yes, sir. It's really good. And the ad hasn't really even hit the streets yet. So.
Yeah, I've had interest. I had a very qualified individual ask me about the position, but she was needing a full-time position, so I don't know if it's going to really work.
Yeah. Any other comments or concerns? Pam?
I was given this at the cafe Saturday morning. And I don't know why she didn't go in next door and give it to you.
What is it?
I don't know.
Well, if it was ticking, it's done.
No, it's okay. You want to open the rest?
Just don't blow on it. Might be some powder.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Had
Well, there's
all
one
the
thing about it,
postal
you know,
inspectors
if you're gonna go out in public, you might as well
It's
do
not
it.
been mailed, so you're on.
Yeah, we're off the hook, aren't we?
It's not
This will be good.
federal since it hadn't been mailed.
Yes, right.
Yep.
We'll go with it.
We're all going together. That's what I love about it.
We got your back all.
Yeah, we got your back. Oh. Okay. Just a note of thanks for the work toward removing the built-up dirt from the gutters on Broadway. Appreciate it. Steve and Ruth Blake, how nice. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Goebel, for heading up that project.
No problem.
Being the crew chief.
Glad to do it.
Appreciate it. Tyler come by my house one morning and he said, he said, you want me to clean up the ditches or what do you want me to do? I said, it's pretty wet, isn't it? Well, yeah, no. I said, come and talk to me when it's drier. You know, I don't want him out there in the mud, you know, but he's a willing, hard worker. And he does a good job. So, any other comments on clerk position, anything at all, concerns? 2 more weeks, we'll accept applications. So I'd move to entertain a motion to close out item 11.
I'm gonna close that out.
Okay, motion by Mrs. Johns, second by Mr. Lund. Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Johns?
Yes.
Mr. Lund?
Yes.
Mr. Sandberg?
Yes. Okay, folks, I don't think this one will take as long as last time, but anyway, Oklahoma statute 25, section 307B permits the public body to meet in executive session for the purpose of discussing a specific item or items as listed in the executive session agenda. Procedures for entering into executive session are as follows. Call for a motion to enter or to convene. Conduct executive session considering only the item or items listed. When complete, reconvene from the executive session, and then announce each item and call for a motion second
My brother might
and
have
vote,
one. I don't
or
mind.
take action appropriate with the executive session discussions. For the purpose of this meeting and proposed entry into executive session, the following executive session agenda item is to be considered. It's discussion action or consideration action on the matter of defining and clarifying the job description and associated duties and responsibilities of the work as performed during the past and duties currently being performed by the Town of Bremen custodian and gardener. And then item B, discussion, consideration, action regarding the work schedule, work assignments, and if appropriate, compensation regarding the duties currently performed by and assigned to the Town of Bremen custodian and gardener. So that will be the 2 items that we will address briefly in executive session. I would now call for a motion to enter or convene into executive session.
I move that we enter into executive session.
We have a motion on the floor by Mr. Lund and a second by Mrs. Johns. Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Johns? Mr. Lund?
Yes.
Mr. Sandberg?
Yes. We'll convene to executive session. Enjoy some coffee and cookies. We'll be back soon.
Oh, yeah. I watched that on the way home from work, you know. I've got it laying on my dash by my speedometer. I think you got some more coming. I have channel 4.
Hey, Sean,
That's what read.
does the radar still work on this computer?
I don't know, I don't get on that computer.
Oh, I didn't know.
This one's ours. But it don't work.
And it don't work.
Hey, I teach you on that.
I can probably do things like look at it.
What side is that?
K4. Channel 4. There's 2. Ours is the one on top. So I'm in Blackwell and I drive down, so I'm coming back with her now too. So I came out.
He does AccuWeather.
Well, because I grabbed at the time. And I said, you must
I said, did you take that one when you took the other? Well, I don't know. That's what I'm calling on. I'm calling on.
Well, I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Annie. I know that.
Yeah, I was watching them walk clouds coming in. I was coming in.
Miss, hit the box.
Christopher sent Jeff pictures of a nice walk cloud.
I know.
And so
Tell them spot me to get busy.
Yeah.
Hang on.
I gotta run my stuff out.
Come here.
Haley. Oh, I'm sure Rick.
What are you doing?
I'm gonna take a picture.
Oh, heavens, Sean.
He's got it. Let's take a picture of that bar.
Oh my God, you ain't cracked my screen.
We've been causing trouble for a long time. In this very community.
It doesn't happen. Pour it real good, full of weed, and then throw that stuff in there and make it nice, and then. I mean, some people, he wants me to paint with but that door is shot.
Right.
Which one?
Get in the utility room.
On the other side?
Right, yeah, same side as the little park, or the playground.
Why is that short?
Well, if you look at it, it's coming apart. It might be able to tap at it to make it decent. It's never used until you go in there to deal with the bathroom or whatever.
There is a burr.
Eat the cookie.
Oh, they're done.
And I think the ladder.
He switched.
I've been in there about 3 or 4 years ago. You live across the street here? Your mom just moved in? Cool, yeah. You know my cat that I was talking to you about? She had a stomach deal. I can't remember what the disease was. The reason she wasn't eating at my house was because she was dying.
Oh, the cat that was. Oh yeah.
Coming over to your place. Yeah, and then she did die. I had to take her to the vet, and they couldn't save her. I know, that really sucked. It was a cat that was born in my garage, and it was semi-wild, and then it just took to me. The rest of them all got killed, I guess, or something. I don't know. Now there's a black one over there. I'm trying to get to adopt. Yeah, I felt bad about that because the darn cat. He had the disease that a cat had. My vet had never seen in a cat before. After $300, I had to put her down because she couldn't. She just lost so much weight. She just turned into a bone pile. Bone rash. Yeah. That is so cool that you could get through those passwords. Now that takes some. I have.
If the program I used didn't do it, I had another way to do it. Yeah. It's fun. It is fun to do. I've been working on computers since I was 12.
Oh, I see.
My dad was a network technician for AT&T, and I went with him on a couple of his jobs. One to Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Oh yeah.
And then one in Paris, Texas. So
I go through Albuquerque 3 times a year, going to Arizona.
There's that. So it's just a fun challenge, right? And then they all these.
He's got a aircraft.
Yeah.
What brought you to Great?
Well, I worked for the casino, and I lived in Arc City. And then when I paid my rental property off in Winfield, Kansas, I was wondering what I wanted to do. I said, well, I can either buy another, get another rental going, or I can buy a home closer to work. So what I did was I was like, well, the future for the company of the South Casino is Raymond, big phase 3. So I looked for a house in Raymond, and I had it between 2 people, and I either bought me Joe Button's house here, or what was her last name? But it was over there on
Rickard.
I don't even know what the.
Well, this is a
Huh? What?
Linda Rickard.
Oh, Rickard, that's it, yeah. Yeah, her house. And I kind of went with this one because that one's a, I don't know, the looked like the, well, first of all, it was an older home. It wasn't as up to date. And then the other reason was it's, I just think like it was, the ceilings were higher in there. So for heating and cooling, it's going to be more efficient because this one has a drop ceiling, so it's like 7.5 feet tall. And I'm short, so it doesn't bother me. Now, if I was like 7 feet tall or 6.5, I'm
Joy
sure.
is being short. Some.
There's water in that ice chest.
That's pretty nice the way she steps in and does it. Yeah, I really think that Damon and what's her name did us a favor by quitting so that's their way. Among other things.
Listen, I sure would like to know, girl.
I know, when I look at Jerry, we had those 5 CDs I was talking about, was about $300,000. And then the other thing is, today, the fire department's got that big chunk of money and there's $20,000. Excuse my friend. Before it's all said and done, he should be able to figure out what he did in time. That's a cold blooded thing. But the real problem was they were watching. They sat there and did nothing for years.
They were going slow.
They were damn slow. Why after Jerry quit, I quit. Well, I did 10 years between treasurer and on the board. And Edgram went Jerry. I'd rather break down. You're only 10 years.
You got 2 other people back in.
They were dead set on trying to keep more about between DeWitt, the new Kirk Mayor, City Mayor, and they didn't like them on the rules. That kind of screwed them right there.
Sorry for you.
I didn't feel sorry for either one. So, if you want some help putting that up, just make sure you give me a call. I'm ready to get the money for the mold.
Okay.
And then if we get the money for the mold, then I'll have to come up with a bunch, about a swing set.
This is my milk.
Swing set, they take 800. Unless we could, I don't know well if we give it a used one. I would have no clue.
Do you know Bill McKenzie?
I know.
We know. The old timey swings, like we had.
Well, that's like the ones that are out of school, they're just that size.
Yeah.
Except it's only 2, not 8, I got 6 over there. It's just a 2-swing set.
They're used and they're $800.
No, they're new. And then that's not counting the shipping to get them. I Googled, I found it on the internet, what I did. And I I called and talked to them about it, because they're the same outfit that had the rubber chips. But they wanted to cost more than what it is. If it's $24 a cubic yard over here, rubber. That's not a lot. $8 per cubic foot, $8. That's 3 feet in the yard. So that's $24 a yard times 20.
Yeah,
But we don't need 20 because I don't probably if I was 18.
I know this get that.
And then click on order again. After the yellow. And just go down the bottom of the road also.
Board will now reconvene for executive session. So it is now time to restate the two items for discussion, item A and item B. And that was discussion, action, and consideration on the matter of defining and clarifying the job description, the associated duties and responsibilities of the work as performed during the past and duties currently being performed by the town of Raymond custodian and gardener. In reference to item A, I would move to consider a motion to accept the discussion as stated on the paper and as was held in executive session. And I would move to accept, motion to accept that as written.
I'll move that motion.
Mr. Lund has made a motion relevant to item A. Is there a second? And Mrs. Johns has seconded the motion, item A. Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Johns? Yes. Mr. Lund?
Yes.
Mr. Sandbeck?
Yes. In relation to item B, discussion, consideration, and action regarding the work schedule, work assignments, and appropriate compensation regarding the duties currently performed by and assigned to the town of Raymond custodian and gardener. Board of Trustees have had that discussion. They have had consideration on all of the items as stated in item B. And the action taken is they have clarified the work schedule, the assignments, and have determined appropriate compensation regarding these duties currently performed by and assigned to the town of Raymond custodian and gardener. I would now move to accept the discussions and action taken by the board in executive session. Relevant to item B. Okay, we have a motion to accept item B as discussed and action taken by the board, and we have a second by Mr. Lund. Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Johns? Yes. Mr. Lund?
Yes.
Mr. Sandbeck?
Yes. At this time, is there any new business to come before the board? These would be matters that were not known about within the 24 hours of posting time required by the agenda by statute 11 OS. Mrs. Campbell.
As far as emergency management, if, we might see if Scott wouldn't mind fixing our computer so we have a radar to look at.
Radar?
At the least.
Jeff and I were talking about this computer here, this tower, and we think it may be the old fire department computer. And correct me if I'm wrong, you said it's toast.
It's junk.
So I don't know if it can be fixed, or, I'm sure he could rebuild one, but we need something that's probably, I have to double check and see what the memory and the RAM and everything that we have to run that, because we run dual pole radar on there. But
Do you know if it's just the CPU went out on it, or if it's?
I can't remember what it's called. I'm not, I don't know about computers.
But well, I mean, will it turn on and you just get like a black screen, or?
It turns on, but it won't connect to something inside itself.
Back station available if needed.
I'm sure it's a motherboard issue.
Sounds like maybe a hard drive failure.
Yeah.
But
I'm just not real sure.
Canopolis fixed it twice, and the third time they said it would be cheaper to just buy a new one.
I could take a crack at repurposing it, see if I can get it going.
Well,
Worth looking at.
Yeah.
I would move that our, you're the
Safety manager.
safety manager, thank you.
He's that
And our
guy.
emergency management manager get together with Scott, and that we look into a computer
Well,
used or new.
he's already offered to take it and work on it.
New or
So
used
that
with
would
a
be
budget of
cheaper.
$300. If that's junk, we don't want it.
Yeah.
We won't know until he looks at it though.
He should take it and look at it if you think it's
That's what we need to do
doable.
first, I believe, yes.
We can take a look at it, but
$300 budget, which I think you could probably.
oh sure,
You
yeah,
could make a computer with that.
probably get pretty close, or I could, yeah.
Okay. You feel comfortable with that, that would be adequate?
Yeah, I just recently did running some numbers on a PC build, and it was like $450, but I could probably come down on some of those things and probably also use some parts that aren't gonna interrupt the stability of the system, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Nice having an IT manager.
Yeah. Your expertise are greatly appreciated, sir.
Oh, no problem,
We'll
no
get
problem.
you trained on these radios next.
We give you
So
another
it's-
plaque to
we have-
dust.
We have a motion on the floor by Mr. Lund to turn the public safety manager, the emergency management director, and our IT manager, Luson, coming up with a computer. And we have a second by Mrs. Johns. Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Johns?
Yes.
Mr. Lund?
Yes.
Mr. Sandbeck?
Yes. Good luck. May the force be with you.
We'll be all right.
Gosh, I think I got a monitor somewhere. How big a monitor?
There's 2 monitors right there, and that's what we use. We use dual pole.
Woo.
Oh, nice.
So you just need the computer fixed. Mr. Partee.
We've got some computers down there at the American Legion that are not being used.
That's right. We may have some donors.
Yeah.
We'll take a look, yeah.
Make you a Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I made one before.
I do have an item. It's about time for recertification for OK First. And I will go, Donna hasn't been to the assistance class yet, and we've got to make arrangements to where she can get off to go, because it'll be a 2 or 3 day class. It's all
Really?
free to the town. The only thing the town's ever done is reimburse mileage, but I'm not asking for mileage, and I doubt that Donna would either, so. Just wanted to let you know that when that comes up, we'll probably both get entered into those, get set up, signed up.
Go for it.
Awesome.
And do write down your mileage, just in case we have some beans in the jar.
2 to 3 days?
I think yours is 2 days, mine's 3.
Where is it?
It'll be down at the city at Norman.
Oh, you can play.
Ugh, Norman.
It'll be an OU campus.
I won't be staying there.
Anything else for the good of the community? Sorry. Anything else for the good of the community?
Yes, sir.
Did you find out how much it's gonna cost to fix the locks at the museum? Just wondering.
No, we,
I know we've been busy with other stuff, but I just thought I'd ask.
no, as a matter of fact, I was gonna talk to John and I didn't get that done, so. It's one of the many things on my list. And I lose the list. There you have
Get
it.
into the museum.
Yeah, the one door, the key is no good, so we gotta.
We get in the normal door that everybody goes in and out. Just the other door they need, it opened to move some things out.
So-
And we're not able to get into that.
I was able to get it out.
Oh, were you?
Yes. So,
Awesome.
went out. Trudy took the door off and
and move stuff around, that we was able to go out the side.
Trudy, was that your job description that we just discussed?
Well,
I made it my job.
Jackie of all trades.
Sorry.
It's okay. We got her done, other than I did break the key off in the front door.
A lot of it is.
Trying to get it.
Pictures.
It wouldn't move.
That's one of them, just a screws though, it wouldn't take nothing to go.
Anything else?
Oh, no, this is the.
Don't want to keep you here any longer. We had another marathon tonight, very sorry.
It's not.
Oh, really?
Anything else? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'm
Mrs. Johns has made the motion that we adjourn, and Mr. Lund has seconded that motion. Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Johns?
Yes.
Mr. Lund?
Yes.
Mr. Sandvik?
Yes, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Oh, my goodness.
Where did the checks go?